My name is Dr. Michael Brown, and this is 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the simple, strategic, and significant choices all of us can make in order to be more fully alive. Today in the studio, I have an executive pastor, an executive leader, a leader among leaders to talk about empowerment, delegation, and helping others thrive. Listen in. Well, Jeromie, welcome back to 3 Words Podcast, your second episode.
That's right.
Here
Sophomore.
Yes, you are. I'm looking forward to your junior and senior year as well, because you have so many great things to say. So for those who don't know you, though, who maybe are listening to this episode, you for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Okay. So I'm an executive pastor at a church called Soma City. Moved to this northern Ohio region about 3 years ago from San Diego. And I don't know when this one's airing, but it's currently fall and the weather is beautiful and I'm loving it because San Diego had no fall and Ohio has beautiful fall.
Well, you can't complain. You're the first person I've ever heard complain about the weather in San Diego.
Yeah, you got to look for the good. You got to look for the good. And so we've got fall and it's gorgeous today. I love it.
Well, you are an executive pastor, actually the pastor at my church, but even beyond being an executive pastor, in my brain and as I get to know you, you are truly an executive, meaning this, you are a leader among leaders. You have, in fact, the previous episode you did on strengthen leaders. I forget exactly the 3 words, but just this idea of you know how to build teams. Yeah. You know how to inspire people. You know how to lead people. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with you today around these 3 words.
Pass the baton. Our words for today are pass the baton.
Pass the baton. Now, as a leader, I'm curious why you want to give it away. Why are these 3 words so important to you?
They're so important to me because it was a really hard lesson I had to learn.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I think for so many people, you start out in whatever career, industry, business, et cetera, you're in. And the way you get ahead is you work harder, you work longer, you learn more, you do more. And that takes you really far all the way up into the point where it doesn't. And I remember a point in season in my life where I'm like, I don't understand why things aren't working as well as they should. I know the answers. I have the answers. And I just couldn't get people to do the answers. And so for me, I was like, learning how to pass the baton became a kind of like a game changer in terms of what do you do when you can't just keep doing it all yourself anymore? And so I actually think about this one a lot because I think for so many people that usually like somewhere in your late 20s, early 30s or something like that, this becomes a lesson you absolutely have to learn because there's only 40, 50 hours in a week that you're actually really productive. And so if you're going to get results beyond that, you've got to learn to pass the baton.
And not only that, you're in nonprofit world. You're in a growing, expanding, rapidly accelerating church where you can't do it all.
Correct. Nor should you. Or like I said, even if you weren't in nonprofit, even if you were in the for-profit sector, you still reach a point where you can't just buy your way out of it, where you can't just pay for it. There's always going to be some sort of limitation of resources. And so you're going to have to come up with some other way of doing it. Pass the baton is that way. I think about pass the baton because for one, it allows things to basically to outgrow you. Like I said, you have that limited amount of hours, you have that limited amount of time, but people are an infinite resource. I mean, there's always more people to involve, there's always more people to connect, and seeing people's dreams come alive as you hand something off to them. I will say, though, that this is kind of scary. This is a scary thing to do when you start passing the baton to someone else, because there's always that fear for any high achiever that you're going to lose control. Like you got to where you were by doing it right, by doing it better, by doing it more efficiently or doing it long, whatever. And to pass that baton, you kind of have to wrestle with this idea of, can I actually let go of control? Can I actually turn something that I'm passionate about, that I've put my name on or something like that to someone else and trust that they're not going to screw it up?
I'm going to hit pause on my conversation with Jeromie right now, just for a moment, to encourage you to share this episode with a leader you know who tries to do it all, but probably needs to let some things go and empower others. Now back to the conversation. Can I talk to you about that for just a second?
Ask.
Well, and I'm just curious, you talked about control, but you're also saying, I put my name on it.
Yeah.
So what's the hardest thing for you, to give up control or give up the credit?
Honestly, the control.
Okay.
The control. And we can probably talk about this a little bit more as we go, but if it's good, you probably will still get credit. If it's not good, you're going to get the blame. And
Welcome to head coaching in sports.
That's right. That's right. What is that thing like? Success has many fathers, failures you stand alone, or something like that.
Great quote.
No, but yeah, like when everything's going it was a team effort. When they lose, it's the coach's fault. No, but with giving up control, and I can't remember who I first heard this from. They said, if someone can do it 80% as well as you can pass it off. And so I think that's probably really valuable, because for some people like, well, do I just hand away anything? Do I just hand away everything? And you're like, no, but if there still needs to be standards, and probably if you're in the medical field, it probably needs to be way higher than 80% or something like that. But for generally speaking, someone can do something as well as you to the 80 percentile. Let them do it. Let them have it. Let them grow, and give them the same grace that you gave yourself as you were learning. Because there was a season where you were doing trial and error, and you had to figure it out, and you gave yourself grace and like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Doing it that way, though, it outgrows you. Yeah. If you want something to really grow, you've got to be able to pass the baton.
Well, and I think you know this, but just in the last couple of months, I've launched kind of a new company in partnership with my very best friend, Dr. Bo Johnson. He's been here on the podcast several times. And the primary motivation for doing that is we've hit the ceiling. Bo Johnson Consulting's hit the ceiling. DMB Coaching's hit the ceiling. There's only so much of me.
Right.
There's only so much of him. I can only travel to so many places.
Yeah.
But to give it away and to expand the team and to certify others and to grow something bigger that is sustainable and will outlive us, I'll be honest, it feels a little scary at times.
It absolutely
does.
Because
I'm like what you said, is that person going to do as good as I am? You know what? Maybe even better.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good reason.
Yeah.
Not only will it outgrow you, but it will outperform you as well. And I think about this in this way. We live in a world full of really good apps. And the lie that we tell ourselves is, if I have the right software, the right apps, the right technology, I can do it all myself. But usually what you get like a very mid-level thing. Like, so Canva is a great example. I love Canva. I'm glad Canva exists, but it's made everybody think that they're a graphic designer. And what you usually get from Canva is not bad. It's not good. It's not crappy. It's not bad. But here's the deal. Nobody buys not bad anymore. Nobody's looking for not bad. They're either looking for the low end, very cheap, or they're looking for the high end. This is really good. And when you try to do everything yourself, you end up with everything being, that's okay. It's not bad. But nobody's looking for that. And so if you're going to really grow something beyond if it's going to be better than you, if it's going to outperform, you have to bring other people in. You have to bring in someone who's like, this is a designer and they specialize in it, and they're going to be able to take it beyond what Canva could do. Or I'm not trying to pick on Canva, but anything, even this podcast right now, you have a team of people that work on this. It's not you running around trying to do
I don't do any of it.
Right. Exactly.
This moment.
Exactly.
Right.
And so
yeah.
It's to use a sports analogy, if the quarterback was also trying to be the lineman, trying to be the receiver, it's like that person would lose consistently. They would get crushed. Yet when we try to think about our own world, we always think that we're this island by ourselves. And it's like, no, you really do need to bring other people in so that it does get better. And now, once again, this goes back to what you said before. But if you start letting things outperform you, you can have to face that. Am I going to lose credit? Are people not going to see me? Or is it going to be this thing where I'm forgotten, or I'm not a part of it anymore? And that's a real fear. I get that, because if something is really good, once again, everybody gets credit.
Yeah. And empowering leaders are indispensable.
That's the thing, though. This is the key that most people forget. Almost any technical skill that exists right now is probably going to be replaced sooner than later by some sort of automation, mechanization, or something like that. The one skill that we, as of yet, cannot seem to be replaced is the ability to work well with people, the ability to get the most out of them, to draw the most of them. And if you're someone who's constantly seeing what the potential is in someone else and drawing that out, someone will always hire you.
Yeah.
And if you're in a company that doesn't value that, well, you're probably going to need to leave anyway at some point in time. So now you just know. But man, the ability to draw something out of somebody and to help them achieve another level, that is such an invaluable skill that is always in demand.
Super insightful. So this allows you to outgrow yourself by passing the baton. What else? What are other benefits?
Outgrow, outperform. The other one I always think about is it outlasts you. It really does.
So outgrow, outperform, outlast. Talk to me about outlast.
So, and this is something that I found really interesting. I can't remember the source, and I probably should have brought it with me so I could cite them and give them credit. But I was reading about the difference between kids that grow up in happy homes and kids that grow up in legacy homes. And what they were talking about is like, there are plenty of people who grow up in happy homes, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to transfer to the second and third and fourth generation. And so they were saying, okay, well, what separates the ones where it seems to continue on generation after generation? And one of the findings among many was that there was an intentionality from the parents to invest in the kids and pass on. This is what it means to be a part of our family. These are our values. These are the things that we find to be valuable. These are the practices that we do. These are the traditions that we have. There was a deliberate instilling, like maybe even there was some family story that was like, hey, this is how we, came to America, or this is the story of your grandparents. There was some sort of intentional way of passing the baton to the children so that they understood where their place in the story was, and that they were not isolated and alone, that they were part of a bigger, longer legacy that was going before them and that would hopefully continue after them as well. And I found that to be really interesting, because you're like, okay, I want to be a good parent, or I want a good family. What can I intentionally do to build this? And a lot of times it's not like live in the right zip code, have the right family vacations, go to the right schools, all things that are good, all things that can be helpful, but just the intentionality of setting your kids up to say, this is who you are, and this is what I see in you, or this is what I want you to know. And so that's been something that's been really interesting.
Jeremy, I feel like you've been spying on our family and have cameras in our house, because literally just 2 months ago, we had a family meeting of the adult children. We talked about legacy. We talked about our core values. They actually all took assessments on what are their most important core values, so that we can actually provide that sense of what does it look like to be a part of the Brown family for generations to come. Because oftentimes we are preparing our children, we are preparing wealth for our children without preparing our children for wealth, or even for what goes forward. So that's another conversation for another day. But because we're trying to do that, because we're feeling that like tug and pull, Teresa and I in our own family. It's like, wow, we're getting older. Will this outlast us? And so we're beginning to make some intentional choices. Again, no credit to us. It was a good friend of mine said, you should read this book. You should do this thing. You should start beginning to have these family meetings.
Absolutely.
And begin to have these conversations moving forward. So.
And the crazy part about that is it doesn't take a lot of effort. Like, one of the things I do, my son is in the second grade. So if you're thinking like, wait, do I have to wait till my kids are older or something like that? My son is in the second grade, and every day we walk out to the bus stop. There's the bus stop where 4 or 5 of the neighborhood kids all get on the bus at the same time. And it takes maybe 90 seconds to walk there. But every day as we're going out there, I just ask him some basic questions. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do today? And his answer is, I'm going to be kind and I'm going to train my mind. And this is an answer, because what I want him to really do, I want him to be kind to others, and I want him to approach school with the idea of like, I'm here to get something out of this. Be kind and train your mind. The second one I ask him is always, what are you going to look for? He's going to I'm going to look for good things that I like. Because like a lot of kids, he's not the wildestly most enthusiastic kid about school. So I'm like, hey, every day you can find good things that you like if you look for them. So what are we going to look for? We're going to look for good things that we like. And then I ask him a couple questions like, okay, who goes to school with you every day? Now, this is I'm a pastor. I have a faith background, but his answer is Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit. And that's just simply to remind him, hey, you're never alone. You're never alone. And then I ask him a question. I was like, and who's my favorite boy? And he says, me. And I say, well, why? And then he says, well, I'm your son. And that's just to remind him once again, like, hey, we have a connection. And this is just a way to start building some of that legacy. Now, if you sat him down and you asked him, tell me about the legacy that your father's trying to build, he'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But it's a simple daily rhythm that can ground him in some things that I hope outlast his time in school and a lot of other things. So,
well, and you are preparing him for the day where you actually pass the baton from your generation to the next. I am curious if I can ask you a personal question. What is the one thing you're wanting your son to say about his father when he himself is passing the baton?
Ooh, going straight for the heartstrings. Man, if I were to think about it off the top of my head, I'd want my son to know that I believe in him and that I will always be proud of. Gosh, I didn't want to cry on you.
No,
15-minute podcast.
We actually do a podcast called Let Yourself Cry.
There you go. There we go. Absolutely.
No, thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, that I was there for him and that I believe in him.
Well, and I think so often we're thinking about this topic of passing the baton is something we do in business and in the corporate world and in our churches and organizations. Yeah. But also, I love the fact that you're taking this topic and you're framing it not just in leadership, which again, we're trying to build leaders here, but also in the context of family, in the most important people in our lives. Any final thoughts for our viewers and listeners today?
I think a topic like this is really easy to talk about in theory. And then someone gets done and says, okay, but then what do I do? Like, how do I start? Because I can't hand off my major fall project or my big initiative. I can't just hand that off to somebody. That's my plate. So what do I do? And what I usually say to people is find some part of your job that you hate, that you have to do it. It's on your plate, and find someone who loves doing that, because that's usually the easiest thing to give away. You hate Excel spreadsheets, or you hate expense reports,
but someone loves it.
Someone does. And just simply being able to pass that off and say, not because you're dumping it on them, because you're like, hey, this is part of what my job. If you're going to one day do something like this, you're going to need to know it. You seem to be more interested in this than I am. Start with the pain point, because it makes it that much easier to let go of control. And so that's one way to begin.
I love that. Great advice. Great conversation with you. Yeah. I want to have you back here all the time, more often, just to talk about leadership, to talk about teams, to talk about empowering others, because it seems like you have great insights. You're very thoughtful around the topics of how do we empower people. So thanks for your honesty. Thanks for your vulnerability. Absolutely. And thanks for being here in the studio today.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for tuning in today to 3 Words Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this leadership discussion that was contextualized both in business and in personal life with my friend Jeromie. We have lots of these conversations here in 3 Words Podcast, but we also put a lot of this curriculum and content into our digital newsletter that you can subscribe to at dmbcoaching.com/subscribe, where you'll get a monthly, if not every 6-week newsletter around these topics of leadership, growth, and becoming the very best version of all the different dimensions of your life. Until 2 weeks from now, be well.